Hello everyone, welcome to Oven. This is Oven Diplomacy. I'm Ambo Mukasa. I have a guest. My today's guest is South Sudanese Ambassador to Ethiopia, James Peter Morgan, and we can talk about the regional issues and African issues and what's going on, especially the current issues in Ethiopia. Stay tuned. Excellency, thank you for joining us. And first, could you brief us some progresses between South Sudan and Ethiopia in terms of business and other diplomatic relation and overall relation between the two brotherly countries?
It is really my pleasure to welcome you. We are always very happy to be working with our brothers and sisters in the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Our relationship has always been growing on daily basis. You know that South Sudan has got this historical ties with Ethiopia, but as a diplomatic mission, we continue to make sure that this relationship continue building up until we achieve the goal of making the people of South Sudan and the people of Ethiopia to be one people in two different countries. That is our goal. And to achieve that, we have always looked into the regional integration of this region so that we can be together in every aspect. We want to make sure that our borders are completely peaceful. We don't like any criminality activities in the borders so that it can give our investors or even small scale business people from Ethiopia and South Sudan to move freely from the border area. And we are also asking the two countries, South Sudan and Ethiopia, to make sure that the infrastructure is built and maintained and sustained. Having the infrastructure will help us more better than anything else, and that is the goal of the embassy here. We are even looking forward to see to it that more Ethiopians come to South Sudan to invest. Now that we have a Commercial Bank of Ethiopia operating in Juba, assisting the Ethiopian community with the small loans to help improve their businesses in South Sudan. And that is the main goal that we, as an embassy, we are here to improve that relationship on a daily basis and put it into the people's hands. And then it becomes people-to-people relationship, not only on the government level. That's our goal that we are working on a daily basis.
Let's come to the current major issues. I mean, what they call the elephant in the room, or just the major events of this week. And you know that international media, especially the Western media, they don't want to report the good side of Africans. Whenever the African story come up on CNN or BBC, they show some conflicts and bad stories and other issues. And why they are doing all this to Africa while Africa is this rich continent with everything?
These things happen. They happen not only in Ethiopia, but it always happens in the whole of this continent. If you can flash back a little bit, you have seen how Libya was destroyed. And Libya was destroyed not by Africans, not by the internal conflicts, but it was destroyed by the external force. So we always feel that the African problems need to be resolved by Africans themselves. That is why we have this African Union slogan of African solutions for African problems. That is one. Number two is that we are not the masters of our own media in control of the media, for example. Our integration in the African Union also has been very slow, because we have proposed that we should have an African media house which should cover the whole continent, so that we are the one to relate to the world about our problems. But when we allow our problems to be told by somebody who is an outsider, we always find that the story we have may have a difference from when it is related by somebody who is not from this continent. And that needs us to strengthen the African Union to come up with these institutions. Building institutions in the African Union is what can bring this continent together. And that is what we call the integration of Africa. At the moment, the issues in Ethiopia are not the only ones. We have problems, even in my own country, that our issues are being reported by different people, and they report it according to their interests. They don't report this to the interests of the people of this continent or to the people of these countries. And that is why we need to work hard to fast track the integration of Africa so that we can be the masters of our own destiny.
Recently, following the CNN's news about the capital, Finland, even they are reporting as the rebels are close to Finland, about 25 kilometers away from the capital. And following that, different countries are urging their citizens to leave the capital. And even yesterday, there was a rally in the capital, Finland, to show their solidarity to the Ethiopian National Defense Force and Ethiopian government. And still, these bad stories are creating some chaos on different countries, and countries are urging their citizens to leave. But while the city is just quiet and the peace, and how do you observe the peace in the capital and even the people's solidarity with the new government and Ethiopian National Defense Force?
What we all know is that there is a problem in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
But the capital, Addis Ababa, there is nothing wrong with it. There is no problem even in Addis Ababa. You can still do whatever you are doing in your businesses in Addis Ababa. There is really no threat in Addis Ababa. Even a few days ago, we had a briefing in Sheraton, Lalibela room, with the authorities of this country telling us the situation in the country, where there was a state of emergency that was declared for 6 months. But the state of emergency did not mean that Addis Ababa, the capital, was under threat. That was not what it was said. The state of emergency was declared in order to protect and to guide, so that the situation should not get out of control by rumors. You know, rumors are always what brings the situation to escalate. But the state of emergency was put in order to cross-check some of the wrong activities, not only in Addis Ababa, but around the country. What the international community and the African continent and the region in particular should understand is that there is a political and security situation in Ethiopia, and that all of us in this region, in this continent, are calling for peace, that the issues of Ethiopia are not unique. They are not unique. They are like any other issue in the continent that we have all gone through. The concern that many people seem to be concerned is the fact that Ethiopia has been playing a very major role in stabilizing the region and the continent. That when people see that Ethiopia itself is having problems, that is where people become concerned. And that concern is even all of us, including we the neighbors, including our leadership, our president himself. Our president came here 2 times, and the president insisted that there must be peace in this country, because this country is really a country that when it goes into a situation where it will be out of control, the whole region also will be affected. That is the concern that we have. Our president has asked his brother the Prime Minister twice that if he could be given an opportunity to approach even the TPLF themselves, we need them to put down their guns and then come to the table so that whatever grievances that they have can be resolved through peaceful means. Because after all, it is an internal problem of Ethiopia. Internal problems can be resolved through friends and the neighbors. And the international community, the peace-loving people in the international community, can also play a role to help bring Ethiopia house together. But it doesn't mean that the problem in Ethiopia is very unique or it is very different from the other problems that Ethiopia itself has helped to resolve in this region. Especially we talk about ourselves in South Sudan. We have seen that Ethiopia has helped South Sudan a lot. If we can go back a little bit, during the time of the Emperor Haile Selassie, there was no IGAD that time. There was no IGAD, which was a regional bloc. But Haile Selassie took it upon himself to resolve the problem of Sudan and South Sudan, which was though it was an internal problem, but he had good intentions to make sure that the people of South Sudan and North Sudan live in peace. And that agreement became historical. And in fact, it became the foundation of our relationship up to today with Ethiopia. Whenever there is a problem in Ethiopia, we feel concerned that Ethiopia stood with us from that time of emperor to the time of the military government, to the time even when the TPLF themselves were in the government here, Meles Zenawi late prime minister, until the time of Haile Mariam Desalegn, until the time of the current prime minister, Dr. Abiy. All the leaders in Ethiopia have never left South Sudan alone. That is why South Sudan, whenever there is a problem in Ethiopia, South Sudanese became so much concerned. And my president himself offered himself that he would like to help, because this is like his second home. So when your second home is having problem, you become concerned. But whatever others people are saying, if it is not an intention for peace, or if it is meant to, propaganda meant to dismantle this country, all of us will not agree. We will not agree that this country can be dismantled. This country, like other countries, can have problems, and the problems of this country can be resolved. Like what other countries also, Ethiopia has helped to resolve the issues of other countries. That is only our concern, not more than that and not less than that.
Following some fake news of the international media and the pressure from some international organization in Western country, some African activists are saying Ethiopia is fighting the fights of Africans. And what is your take on that?
Well, I really don't understand what they mean, because now we need to separate. We need to put separation between those good wishers, those who always wish Ethiopia good, and those who have a propaganda to dismantle, that those who work for the destruction of Ethiopia, we don't need to hear anything from them. But if the good wishers that wish Ethiopia the best and prosperity for the country and the people of Ethiopia, these are the people that we need to work with. Internal problem of Ethiopia is a matter of Ethiopia itself to agree that let this problem be resolved peacefully. Then all of us will come in to help if our help is needed. And if Ethiopia said, I have enough experience as an older country in this continent or in the world, we look at it that Ethiopia had been participating in the international issues, not only African issues. Ethiopia was the founding member of the League of the Nations. Ethiopia spearheaded the founding of the OAU. Ethiopia participated in international peacekeeping operations. and Ethiopia had been a country that remained uncolonized in this continent. So it has got a lot of experience. If it needs a help, countries like us, South Sudan, we stand ready to help Ethiopia. But if it says that no, I can solve this problem, we also wish Ethiopia the best to solve the problem. But as you know that a neighbor, when a neighbor has got problem, you cannot just fold your hands and watch the situation to disintegrate. And that is why maybe our president had asked whether it could be of any help. I also understand the neighboring Kenya has also had the same intentions, and many other African countries have requested if they can be of any help, but not that these countries are asking to interfere. No, we ask you to do what is good for the people and the government of Ethiopia, just to help. That is where we draw our lines. We cannot come when we are not invited, but we can come as brothers and sisters and neighbors when we are given the green light to come. Mm-hmm. And Ethiopian people should also not pay attention to the propaganda from those who wanted to destroy the country. Those propagandas are there, always there. Take, for example, our case of South Sudan. We were in our own internal problems, like what Ethiopia is now. But the good thing, when the leadership of Ethiopia requested that, no, you stop fighting and you come here to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia should not listen to the people who are making propaganda for the destruction of the country. These are internal problems. It will be resolved. You have been together with the people now that are fighting. You are one people in one nation, one history. You have come all long way in this 3, maybe 1,000 years of Ethiopia mentioned in the Bible. These people had been there. There is nobody who has just come in. But the people who are in Ethiopia now were part and parcel of this history, a long journey of the history since the times of King Solomon. Ethiopia has been there in the Bible. So please, we as neighbors, that is our voice. We need peace and prosperity in this country, and propaganda should be put aside because we don't gain anything. These are one people fighting each other. Our role is to say, hey, why are you fighting your brothers? Sit down, let us hear who is having grievances and what are your grievances. Air it out and then it can be resolved so that you continue to build this beautiful country of Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. The history says that every generation has a mission to fulfill. So from the kings, those before those of Menelik I, Menelik II, Emperor Haile Selassie, and so on and so on and so on, to the present leadership, these are the responsibilities of these generations. And every generation, now, it is your generation now, you have a mission to usher this country to go ahead. And then you will leave it, because time also will come, then you will not be there. Then the new generation will continue to carry the responsibility. So let this responsibility not collapse in your hands as the generation now. Because those who had brought Ethiopia to this level will rest assured in their graves that we have done our part. We have protected and defended the territorial integrity of Ethiopia. Since it was called Abyssinia, it became Ethiopia. They got histories of defeating battles against foreigners, like Adwa battle, which was fought in 1869. Everybody has to leave a legacy. There is no hero of war. There is no war hero. Hitler was a war hero, but who is now thinking about him? Nobody. But people of peace are always the heroes. We have Mandela, just recently that the generation like yours should know. But a generation of myself, we heard things like Martin Luther King. He was a peaceful person, but he was killed because peace itself is a front line. If you are a peacemaker, you are always also targeted. We have people like Mahatma Gandhi of India, his job was to preach peace. Mahatma Gandhi never had an office like this. He was just a person. But today in India, he's being glorified because of what he left behind. If you see the Indian currencies, all his pictures are there. Because he never been in the office like this. But because of what he left behind was peace. Martin Luther King was just a priest. In America today, his birthday is being celebrated. Nelson Mandela started radically. He was put in prison for 27 years. When he came out, he came with the voice of peace, which was received by the whole world. So I think the only thing that can make us heroes is when we can make peace with our enemies. Because you, as my friend, I don't need to make peace with you, because you are already my friend. I need to make peace with my enemy. My enemy is the person that I look to make peace with. And that, if I can bring my enemy near me, I become a hero. But if I kill him, he became a hero. Because people say, hey, this guy was good, but he was killed. Though he was not good, people will still say that he was a good person, but he was killed. This is how we are always finding ourselves in this paradox of the world. So, together, let us call for peace. Identify the voices who are for the prosperity of Ethiopia, and distinguish out those who are working for the destruction of Ethiopia, so that we can move forward. I think this is what I have to share with you. I have to share with the people of Ethiopia that if peace is made today, next tomorrow, we will be dancing here at Maskell Square. All of us will be happy. We will be dancing here in Maskell Square. But when we see Ethiopian people are not in peace, all of them, we feel also bad. And that is the message that my president has always said. Ethiopia must remain in its position to lead this region. We are having in front of us a project of regional integration that will bring us together as one region, and we will have one border to protect from our enemies. Ethiopia will not have a border by itself. It will be our responsibility to protect the Horn of Africa. And our people will have the right of freedom of movement. You don't like to stay in Ethiopia, want to settle in South Sudan, you are free. This is your land. You want to stay in Kenya, that is up to you, that is your land. You want to go and stay in Eritrea, that is your business, because this is our land. Our aim is to look big, to create a region that we can integrate and to fit into the Agenda 2063.
Let's come to African issue. Africa is just a rich continent, and as you are raising, you are making just a great point about Africa. And but what has to be there so as to bring Africans together and realize the prosperity of African children?
Yes. The issues that hinder the coming of Africa together is this internal fight that we have. I've been, all the last 2 years, I was a student here at Addis Ababa University doing my master's in peace and security, especially for the Horn of Africa. What we identified out hindering this integration is about the internal conflicts we have, or fights that we have between a country to country. Recently, we were having the problem of the border with Sudan. These are the issues that hinder our integration, because the borders were not drawn by us. The borders of this continent were drawn by people very far away. who did not even care who is who in this area. You find in the areas that some of the Ethiopians were cut to be Sudanese, and some Sudanese were cut to be in the side of, for example, in our case, some of our people were cut to be part of DRC Congo, Uganda. But when we meet with them, we speak the same dialect. We one people. The colonialists did not respect our values. They did not respect us. Because if somebody comes and start dividing your own house, that means he doesn't respect you. So in our generation now, we have found out that the difficulties of our integration are these disputes that we have among ourselves. Who created the disputes? It was the colonial powers. The colonial powers created disputes among us. That is one. Number two is now our own internal problems. This group feel that they should be in power other than this group being in power. So this brings also another clash. Number three, we are taught about something called democracy. Africans, we don't understand what is democracy in the real sense. In Europe or in America or in the European countries, democracy is when you elect a leader. That is democracy. Democracy is the rule of the majority.
Yeah.
When the majority have spoken, the rest should respect the voices of the majority. And this person elected should be allowed to lead the country. For a certain period of time, the constitution says you rule for 10 years, you finish your 10 years, then you go peacefully, without fighting. So in Africa, this thing has not yet been put properly. There is always fight in elections, there is always a fight in the process. Leadership changing is always through chaos. And then the fourth factor that we also identified out was the issue of the human rights.
Great. That's awesome. Excellency, you have raised some great point, and mostly the Western media and some Western organization, especially on the issue of this human rights violation and a democracy. As we have said, democracy is a majority rule.
Yes.
Instead of supporting the majority who is leading the country, yes, or instead of supporting the government who is leading the country, why they are talking about the rebels who are creating turmoil, who are committing violence and atrocity against humanity? Why do they follow the minority rather than the majority who is doing great?
Yes. The reason is this, because if you give them chance, always when you allow, you give them chance to come in, they will also create those kind of things. I made it clear the internal problems of Ethiopia should have not even gone out to the Western media. It should have been resolved as a family issue, a home issue of Ethiopia can resolve it. When they find a crack, this Western media, when it finds a crack in your wall, they will make that crack to be big. And that is why they enter in. But Ethiopia should not listen to that. I already said that identify the voices, those who are calling for the prosperity of Ethiopia, work with them, and ignore the voices that are calling for destruction. Because when the voices of destruction see that you are working with these voices who are calling for the prosperity, they will keep quiet, which Ethiopia has been enjoying for all these years. The glory of Ethiopia, or the best days of Ethiopia, are still ahead. So Ethiopia should look into those days which are yet to come. And the group that working for destruction, they will say, oh, sorry, we didn't know that. This is the way how you can win them. The coming generation, history makes people to be proud of their country. If you reject history, you reject the future. Because history prepares you to stand as who you are. Because you have already a foundation of pride.
Excellency, you made a great point, and I just love it. And finally, maybe if you have a message to address, you're welcome, sir.
I feel comfortable talking to my brothers and sisters in this country. I talk about peace. I talk about the pride of Ethiopia. I talk about the history of Ethiopia that has raised the feelings of all the African continent to take up arms against the colonialists. That spirit still lives. Emperor Haile Selassie came and with his colleagues, they set up a body called OAU, where the mission was to completely liberate Africa. And it was done. When Africa unites, Africa can achieve more. The OAU was the forum which gave the Africans the voice to see into it that the liberation of Africa should be completed by that generation, which they did it. After they finished the work, internal African problems, the charter of OAU was saying non-interference in the internal affairs of another African country. But the young generation of Africans, when they came, they said, no, we cannot allow our fellow brothers to die and then we watch. We have to say something to stop it. And this happened. That's why countries like South Sudan will become independent. Eritrea was a part of Ethiopia, it broke away. And other issues of Africa, we have been able to talk about it, and these issues are resolved. So when we are talking about our continent, I always talk with confidence, because I know that our people suffered in the hands of the colonialists, and we don't want again our people to suffer in our own hands. These are one people, we are brothers, sisters. So whatever the misunderstanding happens, there is a way out for it to be resolved. And we move forward. We move forward together to fulfill our mission as a generation. And we leave it to the younger generation like you to carry on with the duty of unifying this continent, fighting for the continent, bringing the continent together to its prosperity. There are people who are saying Africa is rich, but the people of Africa are poor. Why? So we want to answer these questions. Why the people of Africa are poor? There are battles that we as Africans need to fight. The battle of ignorance, the battle of sicknesses and disease, like the challenge of the COVID-19. COVID-19 doesn't care which part of Ethiopia you come from. It doesn't care whether I'm a South Sudanese, I'm in Ethiopia. COVID-19 doesn't ask my nationality. It doesn't care whether I am black or white. These are the battles now that we need to confront. Number 3, the education. People used to say, oh, the sky is the limit. Nowadays, we don't say sky is a limit. We say sky is one of the places to be explored. We need to explore the sky itself. Now, the world is going to the sky. If they find another planet there which is better than the Earth, will they not move to that planet and leave us here? They will leave Africans to stay in this continent, in this planet. We need also to get into that. So the wars always keep us behind. They destroy our economy. They destroy the life of our young men and women. They destroy the lives of our elderly. They destroy the lives of our children. Wars are the things of the past. We need to move forward together. I talk to my people in Ethiopia with confidence because I call this place my second home. I don't want interference of the people who have intentions of destroying it. But my intention is that Ethiopia must come back and continue to march towards achieving its glory, which is still lying ahead. And Ethiopia is the leader of this region. Ethiopia must lead the region to achieve its prosperity. That's my message.
Thank you, Excellency, for your great points and vivid explanation. And dear listeners, I hope you had a great point and a great lesson from Ambassador's remarks. And this is all we have for today. Thank you for being with us.